welcome to me screaming into the void. What are we gonna talk today about? We're gonna talk today about Terrifier 3 and why I didn't like it and why it's getting such good bloody reviews everywhere. Like, I get why we liked Terrifier 2. Completely get it. Amazing movie. Loved the plotline. Very Halloween-y. Had everything you needed to. But Terrifier 3 was basically just a run through of Gore. That's about it. That's all I saw. Loved the special effects. Absolutely adored the special effects. There was a lot of love put into the practical effects and how they did it. There was something missing, okay? I'm guessing a good plot, because the plot literally is just it begins with a family getting butchered in the beginning of the movie. Wait, sorry. Spoiler alert. This movie doesn't have any spoilers, because it's literally just him going from place to place and butchering people. That's it. The plot is basically, how near can the camera go to the special effects? How bloody and gory will it look? How realistic will it look? And that's about it. It starts with Christmas Eve, family getting butchered by Santa Terrifier. Him then cleaning the plates and putting it back, and everyone was like, oh my god, and he's so considerate, woo. But then he catches the little girl and kills her anyway. It's like, oh my god, he doesn't care if it's children or not. I don't care either. It's just more of how you butcher the kids in a movie, unless that they're getting butchered in a movie. That's about it. That's all I have to say to that kind of plotline of butchering kids. So yeah, it starts with that. Then it continues with the beginning, meaning where the second movie ended, because obviously this one was starting in the middle of the movie, and then we are thrown back to the beginning, where we meet Terrifier headless and the woman that he had, poured acid on in the first one, that we also see in the second one. And we get to see in the third one consistently, which I found very bad, because I was actually looking forward to the little girl that we saw in the second one. That was absolutely fantastic. And I loved that one. And I loved the dream sequence of the second one. And honestly, what happened? What happened? Were you like, oh my god, let me just do as many special effects as I can because I have the money for it now? Which I get, I understand. But like a basic plotline, please, which is less boring than him going from place to place. So it starts there where the second movie ended. He's eating somebody on the floor. I forget who, because don't care. Then he goes on to go into the metro, where there is another guy in a clown costume as a Terrifier who's like, oh my god, he looks so bloody, I wish I could, but I didn't want to get any blood on my clothes, and you know exactly that he's gonna get killed. It's like, okay, everyone he meets is gonna die. It's just no surprise anymore. I would have been more surprised if anybody had survived. But yeah, here we are. Then he goes on. I'm gonna call her Acid Face just because what's her name? What is her name? It's not Acid Face, that's for sure. Acid Face. No, it's not. Terrifier 3. Acid Face, okay? If you've watched the movie, any of the movies, you know who I'm talking about. One of his victims who survived, okay? One. The victim that survived in the first Terrifier. Right? Yeah, there we go. Victoria. Victoria, Vicky, acid face. That's where you're going with. So where were we? So they're going on a public transport and they meet the guy and then he dies, and then they end up in an abandoned building where you have then two, I guess, security guys who are checking out the building because they heard some noise. And they were like, let's go check it out. And then they enter. And then Terrifier obviously kills them. And he takes his sweet time with one of them in the end. And Acid Face is just taking a broken shard and pleasuring herself with him. And I was like, wow. Somebody pleasuring themselves with this sharp object and bleeding. Oh my god. Has she become like another Terrifier? Has she become influenced? Is she possessed? I don't know. Did I care? No. It just was like, again, the sadness comes to mind. You know? And there you had really people like pleasuring themselves and having fun with other bodies and body parts, where you were really like, you know what I mean? But here you're just like, okay, what the fuck, weirdo. So anyway, they butcher themselves, they butcher the people. He then kind of leaves the abandoned building after, I guess, his head was grown back on, and goes to a bar, and where he finds Santa. And Santa is like nice to him because he's like, okay, he's a weirdo in a clown mask. Let's be nice. It's Christmas. Sit on my lap and tell me your woes, I guess. This is me actually making the story better, maybe. Anyway, so Santa is sitting there and invites him and is like, what do you want? What do you need? Blah, blah, blah. Then the other guy, who's a famous actor that we know from Terrifier, from other movies. His name is, what's his name? Clint Howard is in it. So you're like, oh my god, the guy from the movie that is in the Rob Zombie movie. And oh my god, he was in other movies. Oh my god, I know this guy from those movies. And okay, yeah, great. You got a guy to play in your movie. Yay! And he gets killed because he gets annoyed with Terrifier. And you know exactly that they're all gonna die. Again, no surprise there. What I liked was the nitrogen part. Actually, all the special effects were fun, okay? If you just concentrated on the special effects, they were a lot of fun. There was a lot of close-ups. There was a lot of blood. There was a lot of entering of orifices with chainsaws and stuff that made it pleasurable to watch. But that was basically it. That was all the movie was about. You know? So after they go from the bar where he kills everyone and he dons the famous Santa costume, he goes on to be into a mall, and in this mall there is this two teenagers in the bathroom, or maybe he goes first to like I don't know where he goes. He goes in some place where there is a bath shower thingy kind of a thing. I'm pretty sure all the nerds that watched it like 3 to 4, 5 times will correct me in the comments. I cannot be bothered to remember the story. If I like your movie, I will remember your story in detail. If I don't like your movie, I won't be bothered, 1, to watch the movie again, and 2, there is no storyline. There is no storyline. It's like a road trip on feet. It's like a road trip, but walking distance, I guess. Or he flies when you don't see where he goes. He just keeps appearing into these different places. So anyway, these teenagers are having sex. Are having in the shower. And then I just remembered Scream, and I was like, oh my god, the trope of people having sex that shouldn't be having sex, and now he's gonna kill them because he's Terrifier. And then he kills the girl first with a chainsaw, puts on some sunglasses on her while she's still kind of breathing, and finishes killing her off. Okay? And then the other guy, he slips and falls, blah blah blah, lies on the floor, face forward, and he proceeds to take the chainsaw and saw him open from the behind onwards, and you see it in grave detail with a lot of ripping of the flesh and stuff, blood spurting. Wow. Gore. So innovative. It was fun to watch. Again, in another context, I would have liked this movie, but there was no context. There was just gore. The context was gore. At Christmas, people are like, oh my god, blasphemy. No, it's not. It's just Christmas. You stole Christmas from the pagans. So, Terrifier might actually have a point in, effing it up. Anyway, so after the shower scene that everyone was so shocked about, and you also see genitals being, ripped apart. Again, the sadness, Rob Jabaz. Sorry for butchering your name. I love your movies. Please make more. Does it better? I'm just gonna say nothing at all. If you've seen the movie, you know. And then from there, he proceeds to go to a mall full of kids in his Santa costume, sits on the Santa throne, gets the kids to sit on his lap while he's all bloody, and the parents let the kids do that. So then he starts giving out gifts, and one kid, he sees a packet, and he's like opens the packet, and there's bomb, and then it blows up, and they're like, oh my god, the bomb blew. And then you see Savini. The god of gore is in his movie. Blessed be him. And again, it was just, I don't get this movie. I don't get it. You're not gonna make a season 4 of Chucky, but you made a Terrifier 3, and you're gonna make a 4th one?
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Is there gonna be more storyline? I'm gonna watch it for sure. Obviously, I'm gonna watch the movie. It's like, not gonna not watch the movie. Terrifier was a phenomena. I understand why it happened. I was very happy that it happened. I was even happier when Terrifier 2 happened. Absolute gorgeous final girl plotline with the flaming sword and everything. Love that a lot. Which pisses me off in this movie because Sienna seems to have taken like a backseat, and people in the comments will be like, yeah, but Terrifier is the main character of the movie. I know. And yet in the second one, I was more interested in the plot because Sienna's plotline was actually interesting. In this one is more like Sienna is traumatized. Sienna comes back from the loony bin. Sienna's brother doesn't want to have contact with her because he thought he imagined it. Everyone thinks that she's the serial killer. That's her plotline now. I'm just gonna jump to her plotline because it really literally is such a low percentage of the movie that you almost forget it was there. She's more of a... It seems like it was more of an afterthought. He had all these ideas of what he wanted Terrifier to do and all the special effects that he wanted to do and all the bloody gore that he wanted to do, that Sienna just became like a side plot that wasn't that interesting to him, which is a shame because I think that's what made the second movie so good and what made the first movie like eh. Anyway, so after whole bombing, then you see Tom Savini in the TV as like a kind of, oh my god, it was crazy. There were all these kids and they were all blew up in the air with his beanie. I don't know why I remembered him wearing a beanie, but he is wearing a weird ass beanie. And And then we proceed to what happens after. I don't know. Then comes the middle part where the family gets butchered in the beginning. That's like the middle of the story, but the beginning of the movie. And then he proceeds to go to Sienna's aunt's house because Sienna lives with her aunt and uncle because, I mean, her parents are dead. So, obviously she needs to live somewhere, and she's still traumatized, and she's going like crazy and is like, oh my God, why is nobody believing me? And everyone thinks that I'm crazy. So he lands at the aunt's place. Yes, and there is a little niece also involved. Again, Sienna's story, not really the main part of this movie. Also not that memorable, which, again, I find pretty sad. But I digress. So Sienna hears her uncle talking shit about her and saying she's gonna kill us all. She imagined everything. You'll see.
A few moments later.
And then she comes downstairs and she sees Acid Face in like this, Jesus with his thorn crown. Only Acid Face is now wearing the thorn crown. And she sees her uncle like headless with his bowels out, nailed against the wall like Jesus Christ. And then she gets tied up at some point, and then she escapes, and then she attacks him, and he shoves her head into her uncle's bowels to kind of drown her, asphyxiate her, I guess, in the bowels. Drown her in bowels. Yeah, and that's about it. And then she gets the flaming sword from the niece because she had taken it in the side plot that isn't really that important because obviously there is going to be the sword, and she kind of kills him, I guess. There is the portal hell that opens up, and yeah, the end. So they like Terrifier 3. It was fine, I guess. It was just not that entertaining in my eyes. I liked the effects. They were fine. Really a lot of fun effects. I also liked the liquid nitrogen scene. I didn't mind the bathroom scene. It was fine. It just lacked soul, in my opinion. Which is so sad because the second part was not that bad. So if you haven't watched the second part yet, I would highly recommend that you watch it. It's a fun watch. Really cool final girl. Didn't hold up the third time. Sorry. All right, bye.